Okay, ready for our first band workout. This one, we're going to start off warming up our shoulders, working a lot with the scapula. So these are your scapula. We usually call them our shoulder blades. They slide in, they slide out. And so I want you to visualize that. When our hands are apart, our shoulders are sliding inward, that inside. And when your arms are together, your shoulder blades slide outward. So keep that in mind as we do these exercises. Okay, so I'm going to start with my light band. I have my thumb between the thumb, or I have my band between the thumb and the first finger. Okay, I have just a nice stable stance here. I'm always thinking about those Pilates principles of pulling in that TA, belly button to your backbone, pelvic floor is lifting, getting that rib cage expansion in my breathing. And I'm just going to start off coordinating a little arm raise with my breath here. So I'm taking a deep breath in. Exhale, raising my arms up above my head. Now when my fingertips go up, my shoulder blades are going to push down. And I'm just going to give a tiny little outward press. So my fingers are kind of directing, or palms are directing to the outside of the room. Just a tiny little bit. You're barely stretching that band anymore. Okay, and we lower it back down. Let's get that going together now. Big exhale up. Inhale back down. I may have just reversed that breath, but that's okay. I feel better on an exhale up. Do what feels good to you. Exhale up, shoulder blades slide down. Inhale, lower. Let's go for 4. Starting to push just a tiny little bit to the outside of the wall here. We always kind of think about the walls are closing in on you, and you're just going to give a little bit of an outward pressure to resist. Good. We're going to go one more here. And then up here, I want you to turn those thumbs outward just a little bit more. Pinkies are pulling back to the back wall. Drop those shoulder blades down. A lot of times those upper traps try to hike up. So I'm going to pull them down. And then I'm just going to do little pulses, pressing outward. So thinking about pulling those armpit muscles down. The pinkies are leading to the outside of the rooms. Imagine again those walls closing in on you, and you're pulling them or pushing them out, pulling the band and pushing the walls back out. We got little pulses. We got 4 and 3, 2, and 1, and then lower it back down. Woo, shake it out. Now, did you feel that up here in your triceps, in your upper traps? I'm sorry, not triceps, in your upper traps. We want to try to keep those guys out of it and get it more into those armpits. Okay, so from here now we're going to bring the band right out in front of us. And this is more where I was talking about opening those arms to the right and the left and the shoulder blades squeezed together, and then controlling it back in. As you can tell, you could open it out and then just let the band snap your hands back in, right? But that's where we're talking about getting that benefit from resisting the closing of those hands. So we exhale, press out. Inhale, bring it back in. Good. Shoulder blades are squeezing together as those arms go apart. Shoulder blades are widening as those arms come back in. That's it. We got 4 more. Get that resistance. If your hands are getting crampy, modify your grip. No big deal. We've got 2 more. Good. And final one. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to take those arms back out about almost the whole way, maybe 1 inch short, and do 1 inch pulses. 8, 7, 6. I feel this behind my shoulder blades. 4, 3, last 2, and 1. Woo-hoo, the beauty of the green band. This baby isn't super taut, but it really gets some heat on in there. Love it. Okay, going to do some diagonal lines now. So I'm going to come a little bit closer, and I'm getting a little crampy in my hands actually. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap my fingertips around the band as well. I'm going to start off kind of making an angle here. My right hand is high, my left hand is low, and I'm opening it right across my chest and then bringing it back in. Now we have a rule in Pilates that we always want to have a straight wrist rather than a broken wrist. So a lot of times I'll see people do this either that way or this way with their wrist. And I caught myself doing it. That's why I'm cueing this. When I come out here, we want to make sure this wrist isn't broken like this or this. We want to keep it straight in both ways. So not this, but straight out like that. Does that make sense? Okay, bring it back in. So we go out, right across the chest. I'm going to give myself a little bit more slack. My triceps are feeling this already. 5. Nice. And 4. Shh. Beautiful. We got 3. Floating that head. 2 more. And then, of course, we got some pulses here. So we hold it up, and then we pulse. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And lower back down. Shake it all about. And then we go to the other side. Arms are out straight, diagonal, and left arm high, right hand low. Checking my wrists, keeping them straight. You can use all fingers around the band, whatever feels better for you. Good for those arthritis hands. We got 6. And 5. Whew. 4. 3. Last 2. Holding it out here, we pulse it. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. Shake it out. Okay, I'm feeling that. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a stretch now. May not feel like a stretch, might feel like a strengthening move for some of us. But this is what I like to do with my strong and steady class. I'm going to take the thumbs into the, between the thumb and the first finger through the band, and I'm going to come out pretty wide. This is a range of motion exercise. We want to see how well those shoulders will mobilize. And some of us are not going to be able to get them back there behind our back. As you start mobilizing it, you might be able to walk your hands a little bit closer. And just that resistance of the band, that little bit of tautness, can actually help that glide back in the shoulder blades. But let's just say this is about as far as you can get it. That's okay. Maybe bend the elbows and come up and over. See what you got. Maybe that's your range of motion today. I promise if you keep working at it, it'll get better. Good. I'm going behind my back and then bringing it back up. So I know I said it was a stretch move, but it might feel like a strengthening move for you. I know. We got 3. Whew. Last 2, feeling that pinch between my shoulder blades. And you can do this as slow or as fast as you want. Probably slowing it down is going to help you really explore that territory back there. And some of us have never gotten those hands back there for a while. All right, shaking it out. Good job. Okay, from here, I want to go into just a little bit of abdominal work. We're going to give those arms a break. And the best way to get into this next one is to go ahead and just lay your band out on the floor, kind of make it long. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to pick it up here in a second. But if you at least have a space so that you can sit down on your glutes. Now, some people, when they sit on their glutes, are not able to sit up straight like this. So if that's the case, just grab a pillow. You can put your band on top of the pillow and then just readjust. And maybe it takes a couple pillows, but I want you to be able to sit shoulders over hips, okay? So I'm doing this on a pillow just to give you that visual. Taking my right hand into the band, I'm gonna bring my left hand behind my back, and we're gonna go into a little rotation here. So some of us may need to choke up a little bit more to get some of the resistance that we need, and also really depends on your arm length. So if your arms are longer, you're going to come pretty close to that hip with the band, okay? So what we're working on here is spiraling the spine. So trying to do that without leaning, okay? So my nose and sternum are going together over to the right side, and my elbow is just going to follow. Good, and I think I had my hand behind my back, so go back to that. Good, this may feel like it's not that big of a deal, but just notice what the rest of your body is doing. Like, is this thigh wanting to come up? Is it going along with you? We're just exploring mobility here. We want that spine to be able to move freely. Each little vertebrae stacked on top of the other. Good, we got 3. And exhale 2, So again, without this, and 1. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna leave that band there. I'm gonna come over to my other one. My palms down, my opposite elbows behind my back, just because that helps open this collarbone. Sometimes we kind of try to muscle over with the shoulder, and this is just an awareness piece to keep that arm down. Okay, now we're rotating. Pulling that elbow, the rib cage and the spine and the sternum and the chin and the nose all go with it. So if I had a ruler, hopefully everything stays in line, belly button included. We got 4. And guess what? All of us rotate much better one direction than we do the other, and you'll be able to figure it out pretty quickly. 3. And 2. And 1. Okay, so a little abdominal rotation there. Okay, while we're still sitting on our band, I'm going to pivot back to a little bit of arm exercise. We're going to do some rotator cuff work. I used to think the rotator cuff is right here, but the rotator cuffs are actually back behind. It's a group of 4, primarily 4 muscles that attach your scapula or your shoulder blade to your rib cage. So we all learn as we go, right? So elbow is attached to your side here, and we've got that strong wrist, and I'm going to have you go pinky down, thumb up, okay? And then the band's just going to come over your thumb. And we're going into what we call external rotation. So this is the movement of the humerus, or the upper arm bone, rotating in the socket. And while we're doing this, we want to try to keep the rest of our body still. So in other words, I'm not rotating, I'm not sinking. I have equal lines on my right and left, and all I'm doing is I'm exposing my bicep and then I'm tucking it in. And when I see people doing this in class, again, we sometimes get up into that upper trap and try to figure out ways to over-mobilize that or compensate. One of the other key pieces that we want to remember here is we want the shoulder to be as neutral as possible. So in other words, it's not rolled forward into protraction, and rarely is it going to be in retraction, so don't worry about telling you guys that. Let's go 2 more. This is Nala. And 1. Okay, let's go over to the other side. So I'm holding the band here, elbows right up to at my side, and my shoulder is low. As I go into external rotation, remember we want that wrist up, and remember no broken wrist. It's nice and straight. One arm's usually a bit better than the other. And again, you can adjust this. You can make it tighter, you can make it looser. I was getting towards the end and I slid out. So if you want it to be a little bit looser, go more towards the tail. If you want it to be a little bit tighter, go more towards the center. Your grip will be more towards the center of the band. Okay. But watch what it does to your joints. So if that's causing you to get your wrist all kinked up, and then go back to that length. Okay. Got 2 more here. And final one. Oy. Excellent. All right, shake it out. I know you're feeling that. Some of you might definitely be feeling that in your hands, so take the time to bend and straighten. We snow globe in the studio. All those good things. Okay, I'm going to now bring the band around to my back. I'm sorry, did I kick you? Am I in your way? Silly me. Okay, and this is one of my favorite because we are going to kind of combine external rotation here, but not quite to the extreme. And then we're going to give a press here. And this helps you find those serratus anterior muscles that are underneath your armpits. So I could do it like this, but I want to do it like that. And then my elbows come back in. And as you continue through this, you can kind of adjust, walking up into the band a little bit deeper if you need a little bit more resistance. So it's an exhale, press out, and an inhale, bring it back in. Exhale, press out, inhale, back in. By the way, if while you're sitting here, your hips are starting to get crampy, definitely stretch those legs out. Be comfortable. Because if you're feeling a lot of tension in one area, you're definitely tensing a muscle somewhere, and we don't want to do that. All right, we got 5. And 4. Good, last 3. And 2. And final 1. Beautiful. Okay, from here we're going to go into some abdominal work. So I'm going to take my band over the top and cap it over my toes. I like this capping action because it keeps it from rolling off and kind of coming into a little bit of a tight connection there. Okay, some of you, again, need the pillow. Some of you may not need the pillow at this point once your legs straightened out. But a lot of us with tight hamstrings, we do. Okay, so this is where we're going to get into some abdominal work. And I'm going to ask you to find that TA again, find that pelvic floor so you're getting that lift of the pelvic floor. And on this one, I want you to try to use the bands as little as possible. So if you can come to right above your knees, keep your elbows just really soft at the side of your body, keep the shoulders down. We're going to tuck the tail so your pelvis scoops back and you start to go into a half roll down. So find those abdominals. Remember, chin is lifted off to the chest. You're not dragging it down here. And you're rounded in your belly. You're not floating out like this. So fold those ribs down into the hips. Good. Now take another deep breath in here. Feel your abdominals. And roll it back up. And once you get up there on top, lengthen. Feel the length from crown to tail. Again, half roll back. Ribs and hips come together. Softness on the band. So in other words, I don't want you holding the band up like this. I want you to keep it nice and soft so your abdominals are doing the work. And then come all the way back up. Now some of you can roll all the way down, and I am totally fine with that. Let me demonstrate. It's a lot easier without a pillow here, but a full roll up might look like that. Yep. But do what you can, again, with very little use of the band. So it gives you just a tiny little bit of help, but it also gives you a little bit of awareness, like how much am I depending on this thing to get back up. Here's what I find in class. The people are pretty good about controlling the way down. They've got their abdominals there, but then they forget to turn them back on for the way up. And you got to find them for the way up too. Aha. Let's go 2 more. Half roll down. And bring it back up. And final one. Half roll down. And bringing it back up. Fantastic. Okay, got just a little bit more for the abs. I'm going to roll off of the pillow here. And onto my back. And I'm going to come into a tabletop with both of my knees up there, and my low back is sealed to the mat, so I'm in my imprint. Now my elbows are just resting at the side. My hands are nice and soft there, and I'm going to take those legs out. Notice I'm not going too low, and then bring them back in. So I'm working my abdominals, my wrists are strong and straight, and this just really gives me a lot of awareness on where I'm holding tension, because I gotta be honest, I want to squeeze between my shoulder blades. Abs aren't particularly feeling all that strong today. So relax the shoulders, keep tipping the low back down into the mat, the pubic bone towards your nose, and maybe shoot a little bit higher if that's the case for you. Keep those feet a little bit higher. Now, if you're having a good ab day, you can go lower. Get those feet closer to the floor. But just make sure you're not bringing any tension up into the neck and shoulders. Let's go for 3. Awesome. Last 2. Good. And final one. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to take just my right leg up into the band. My left leg now is out of the band. I'm going to hold the tails with just my right hand. So 2 tails in the right hand, elbow bent and shoulder soft. And I'm going to take this leg out to the right side, trying to keep this left hip down. So when we do this, this is actually a challenge for those obliques. If my left obliques aren't strong, here's what's going to happen. My glutes are going to come up. I'm going to start to roll over to this side. So we want to find that strength so that this glute cheek stays down, this bottom rib stays down. We keep that connection here. So it's challenging in the abdominals. Now I'm going to kind of fan it over the opposite way, and this gives me a stretch on that right glute. So again, we're taking it out, working to keep those ribs and hips connected. So I'm talking about right here, and glutes and ribs stay connected to the mat as well. My arm out of the way, you can see that. And then we cross back over. Let's go one more. So it's a stretch / strengthening exercise. Find that strength. I'm poking right here. Those obliques. And then bring it back up. Okay, and then we're going to finish off with just a really nice leg circle here, exploring that range of motion, keeping tension out of the shoulders and the neck. And reverse it. Go back around. Sorry for all the throat clearing. I think I'm like everybody else, got the permanent drainage from all the fun weather we're having. Last one. Beautiful. And then I'm going to finish this off with a hamstring stretch. So I'm pushing my heel up, pulling my toes down. And again, just gentle pull on that band. And one of the beautiful things about this is that not only is that pulling the toe down, but it's sinking that femur into the socket. This is one of the most amazing feelings, if you can really understand it. I describe it to my class like putting a peg in a hole. So if you think about that femur just kind of dropping down into the socket, what it does is it creates a little cradle of space between that sacral and iliac bone, or that SI joint. And it's a aha moment when you feel that. Okay, I'm going to take my left leg up, and this is the easy way to do it, guys. Keep your right one there and let that left one just take its place, rather than like undoing the band and putting it back on your left foot. That's the easiest way to do it. Okay, so now elbows here, crown of the head is long, and I'm going to take this leg out, and just like before, I'm keeping my right ribs, right glutes anchored down. So these obliques are fired up, otherwise I just kind of roll my belly your way. So that's a good cue, that's a good indicator. Is your belly button still up in the air pointing to the ceiling, or is it fallen over to any angle to the left? And here we go, across the body. Again, soft shoulder, we're getting the stretch here in the glute and this hamstring. And across. Keeping that right oblique down. You might find yourself compensating by bringing your leg a little bit wider if you're struggling there. And then one more time. We get this stretch, we get that length from crown to tail. Always think, reach with the head, reach with the tailbone. And then over here, again, softness as we start to create that full range of motion circle. Stirring the femur bone in the hip socket. Remember, we're looking for mobility. One of the visuals you can have with this is like you're scraping the sides of a bowl. You want that femur to go all the way around that socket. But at the same time, the pelvis is more or less stable. It's not rolling side to side with that leg circle. All right, and then we finish it up by pulling this toe down towards you. You can add that second hand, but not only are you pulling that toe down towards you, you're literally dropping that femur into the hip socket, which I feel so well right now. Oh my goodness, that is fantastic. Love, love, love it. And we'll go ahead and bend the knee. And we'll call that one a wrap. Great job, you guys. Thanks for joining me for our band workout.